So anyways, so it got me to, oh, we have this place, Scottsdale Behavioral Health. And I was like, that sounds sketchy. Because you just hear behavioral, and you're like, is this an SMI place or something? It wasn't. So then they showed me a picture, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I want to go. And it was just cool, dude. I mean, it's like they give you enough rope to hang yourself with or not. You know what I mean? And I didn't.
What do you feel like was the most impactful thing from there?
The last 45 days at that place. The most impactful. That's a tough question, man. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind would be the guys there.
Were they pretty serious?
Most of them were. There's obviously, a few knobheads that are just goofing around or just watch TV all day.
Right.
But there's a few of them that were Christians.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So there's this older gentleman, great dude. I was actually just texting him this morning because I knew he got his phone. I was like, hey man, miss you guys and stuff. But he would be out on the table early in the morning with his Bible, and listening to his devotional stuff.
Right.
And every morning, with my kind of wild thinking, I'm kind of asking him questions about things like Christ. Why is it this way? Like, what does this mean? And a lot of times he didn't know the answers, but it kind of provoked like his curiosity. Because then he looks into his book and finds the answers. And then I saw like the light in his eyes, and I fed off of that, and he fed off of me asking questions and stuff. So it was just cool, man.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah, it was cool. And then there's I just met some really good people, dude. The staff were great. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. There's so much downtime that it's like. It's as if I have the decision. I can sit in front of the TV and just watch mind-numbing movies and just tune out of my emotion, tune out of what I need to deal with, and just get zombified staring at a movie and not focusing on what I need to focus on.
Right.
And I didn't really do that. I automatically went to, all right, I'm just gonna read the Bible. I want to read the big book. I want to read. Just like these spiritual books, just whatever, or journal, get my thoughts out on paper. So it was a lot of time to work on myself.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing too, is all the downtime, so.
Yeah, it's like that could either make you or break you, It's just like any other rehab or, I don't know, just like in those tough times, right? Like it all depends on what you do with it, right? Like you could either see it as an opportunity to better yourself, or you could just let it destroy you,
For sure.
Because it could also hinder your growth, right? Like that downtime, but it all depends on the action you put on it. Because you, just like you said, like you sitting there and watching mind-numbing movies is an action in itself.
Yeah.
Like that, you're putting in the action to not do anything.
Yeah.
Basically. For
sure.
Like that's your decision.
And like most of the movies, I mean, not saying I don't watch movies, but most of the shit that's out there is just, dude, it's just like anxiety provoking. It's like negative.
Right.
It's just murder.
Bro.
You know what I mean? And it's just sex. And so it's like, now that I'm a follower of Christ, right? And it's given me a different. I'm way more convicted, and like when I'm like just like pornography, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Like I struggle with like just wanting to look at it. It's definitely not. It's not to like a point of like ruining my life or anything. But it's anytime I do it, it's right after is just like feel disgust, you feel shame, you feel
Right.
whatever. So it's like clearly, if I'm feeling that way, you know, because I know there's a
Yeah.
different, I know the other way, but if I feel like convicted of like I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then things with like just, yeah, just movies that are just fucking awful. I'm just like, it's kind of goes back to um, what you feed your mind, what you watch, the sensory overload of like what you see, what you hear. If you just flood it with a bunch of crap, your brain's gonna turn to crap.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
then it's gonna project out into negativity, into foulness, into just lust, demeaning women, all this stuff.
Right.
Which I've been working hard on, just not joking around with the boys, like, oh,
Right. Right.
you know,
Yeah.
saying some pretty profane shit. Like I gotta watch myself, man. And
Yeah.
I'd say I've gotten better over it. It's hard when you're in rehab though,
Right.
around just, you know, a bunch of guys. Especially like, dude, 10 dudes from rehab drive into a gym, and there's just really good looking women. There's some profanity things that go through
Right.
get thrown around. So,
That's so funny that you bring
But-
that up, like the whole porn thing and feeding your mind, all this stuff, man. Because like we were talking about earlier that I've been in this like dopamine rabbit hole, right? And so it's been like 31 or 32 days, right? And I don't usually talk about this, but just for the sake of the conversation, like I've been on like on some retention, right? Like no porn, no like masturbating, like and I realize how hard it is, you know. And if I'm on social media, like there's all these shit that just I have to unfollow all these pages and I have to block
Instagram's the worst.
you know, and I'm just like, dude, I might as well not even use social media because it's like
Yeah.
everything is a small trigger, and that's what starts it all, pretty much, you know. But I don't know. I've just been experiencing some clarity. You know, it just feels good, dude. I've never done it before. I've never tried to do it before.
That's tough, man.
Yeah, it is tough, dude.
That's
It
tough.
was tough at first, and it still is. Like today, I was struggling a lot. Yesterday, I was struggling a lot. But it's cool because it gives me a lot more opportunity to get closer to God. You know, and in times of temptation, like that, me going to God, it's just much more intense now. Like there's just this there's this energy, right? Because I have the energy of wanting to feed into that temptation, and so I'm trying to direct it somewhere else, right? And I'm trying to direct that by like praying, meditating, and it's just this intense energy that I've never felt before.
That's what's
know?
up.
Yeah.
It's like you say when you say the channeling. So it's kind of wild you say that, because I've been thinking about this probably the past week. Is like, I'm pretty sure I'm ADHD.
Yeah.
And it's like every time I go back and relapse and then come back, it's kind of almost worse because of the stimulants and just the damage done to but it's almost like, you know, throwing jet fuel in the fire. So every time I come back, it's kind of a little bit more sporadic, you know what I mean? But I'm definitely like, I think I'm ADHD, man. I'm just all over the place. I'll start one thing, I'll turn the shower on, then walk away because I have to do this, and I'll go back. It's like just all that throughout the day, or if I like even try to like sit down and so the channeling though is like, I've been trying to tell myself, and a couple of friends I was talking to about is like, dude, like I'm okay if I'm ADHD, whatever, have all this energy, that's okay, but I need to seek God and ask Him to be a channel and channel that energy towards something like productive. And that's the thing with like AA, dude. And it's, you know, so I'm 28 years old now, and things are just now making sense. So it's like, you know, being a service, so channel energy and just whateverness to, you know, okay, what can I do right now? I'm gonna go rake these leaves. I'm gonna go at the sober apartment living. I'm gonna go like when I was working out this morning in the gym, it's like all, you know, dusty and kind of, you know, rocks kind of thrown about inside, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna sweep it up.
Right.
So it's just like little things like that I need to start doing because I've never really been like that. I'm just like, whatever. But it's like, no, I need to channel my energy and like any nervousness or anxiety or fear into something positive.
Right.
So it's like, so it's like that. That's being a service to me. That's cleaning up part of the community,
Right. Right.
and that can go beyond so much more than like AA meetings, service commitments, like all the things, and like reaching out to somebody and just saying, hey, how are you doing? Or just like trying to make them feel welcome because dude, I'll be honest, the last 10 years since I started going in and out of AA in the rooms, didn't do any of that.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't do any of that, man. Like I just was in AA to get what I wanted to get. I wanted to feel better. So I would like go through the steps. I would go to church because I wanted to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't about what can I learn today to put into practice in life or praising God, dude. Like I'm in church now. I'm like, yeah. When there's nobody else is doing. I'm like, I used to be like, nah, I'm not. I don't want to look weird and stuff. It's like, who cares, bro?
Yeah.
It's the house of God. You're there for Him.
Right.
So it's just like all these things are kind of making sense now. It's like to be like, dude, life's not about me. To the core, like my default wants it to be about me. And that's where it's just like, and that's what's been killing me because it's been about me for 28 years. And as the big book says, selfishness, self-centeredness, what is that? That's the root of our troubles. It's going to kill me, you know what I mean? Without, if I don't have God for help, if I don't have Him help me, take that away, right? So it's just like, I don't know, dude, just this last time getting sober, it's just things have been making more sense.
Right.
Cause yeah, it's just not about me, man.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, man, because even I can still get in those moods, bro.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I was freshly sober, it was different. Because I had that desperation. I had that fire to get close to God, and whenever I'm really, really close with God, and my relationship is really solid with God, and all those channels are cleared up, I truly, deeply care about people, and I empathize with them, and I do stuff for them, and I do stuff for other people, and then, now you get a little bit of time, and it's like you get, I sometimes get back in those ruts where I'm like, man, like sometimes I'm just doing it for just me, bro, because I just need to feel okay, and I do it selfishly. I use the program selfishly sometimes. I use God selfishly sometimes, right? And sometimes, and I'm aware of these things that, like, I'll just reap the benefits, but I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out, but what I've noticed is that the closer I am with God, and the more that channel is cleared up between me and Him, right? When I don't have resentments or I don't have fear that's blocking me off from Him, I truly do care about people. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a huge lesson to learn, especially in early sobriety. So what do you feel like? How has it been like coming in and out? Well, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like it.
How's it been?
No, like how does it? Like how do you?
Like just how do I feel like? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like what are the lessons that you learned? I know you just talked a little bit about it, but overall,
man, it's.
What do you feel like? What do you feel like keeps taking you out?
What keeps taking me out?
In your opinion, I mean, who knows? I mean, if you even know, right? No,
I kind of smile because it's like, because I mean that's the golden question every time I come back into walk through the doors of rehab is, Nick, what's gonna be different?
Right.
And it's gotten to a point where it's like,
But you know though,
Yeah.
like not trying to sound arrogant, but you know, like,
Yeah.
cause you've been around for so long, so you already already know how to stay sober.
I know it's different.
But yeah.
Well, so
Go ahead.
it's God is. It's just it sounds so. It's so weird me saying it because I've read it so many times in the book where it says God either is or
Right,
he
yeah.
isn't, or God is everything or he is nothing.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, God is everything. Like all throughout the day, dude. Like when I went to go get my haircut, well, just before that, but when I went to go get my haircut, like just vividly, when I was walking back, I was just talking out loud, praying out loud, just saying, "Thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God."
Yeah.
Like I just try to keep saying thank you, God, because, dude, He's everything.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't even. There's nothing else to like. I can't really explain it any more than that. If I could tell you like what my heart and my soul feels when I say that, it's just like, it almost gives me goosebumps. But because he hasn't been everything. Like it's been like in the past, I would. It's almost like it's just like doing. How do I describe it? Like going through the motion.
I see.
It's like going through the motion of, okay, I'm gonna pray to God. I'm gonna check this off my list.
Yep.
I'm gonna do just my daily prayers. I want to do this and that, and write out a gratitude list and all this stuff. And I'm gonna go to church, and then I'm gonna go to meetings and talk about my higher power. And so it's like as if I believed in God, but I didn't love God.
Right.
You know, like it wasn't like I believe, but like Satan believes God, dude. The demons believe in God.
Right. So it's not
Like, so what? I believe in God. Okay, so what? So it's like, no, it's like I have to, and this time around is like I'm truly submitting myself to the God of my understanding. Because that is step one as well for me. Because it makes me realize that I'm powerless and I need God, right? So in a sense, that's actually step 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Like just me submitting and admitting I need God is 1, 2, and 3. Because I know, because first off is I'm powerless without God. It's just proven factor. I've been to rehab over 20. I've completed over 20 rehabs from 30 to 45 day programs. I've been to way more detoxes than that. I've been to rehabs where I've been kicked out that aren't part of the 20. So, and then countless hospital visits from drug and alcohol consequences, you know? So, yeah, in a sense of, I don't know where I was going with that. I totally blanked out, man.
No, you're good.
Oh, where was I? What was I talking about that led to?
You were talking about how that's steps 1, 2, and 3, right?
1, 2, and 3, yeah. So
that's like what is where you've kind of been lacking. From what I'm understanding of what you're saying, is there something in there that you are lacking or something?
Yeah, so it's.
You're not.
Thank you.
You were getting to there.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what I was thinking and feeling that. So it was so without God, I'm powerless.
Right. Yeah.
My life's unmanageable because all this. I mean, just my track record shows, man. Like, I don't know how to manage my life.
Right.
I'm definitely powerless over alcohol. And all the drugs, all of them.
Yeah.
I can't safely do, coke, meth, Xanax, not even weed. I can't do any of it safely, or at least being safe to society and people around me and myself, without just causing destruction, dude.
Right.
So it's like I need God, as far as relying on Him to get me away from that. And just take me out of myself, dude, because I know I can't, like, especially now, like, more than ever, I know I cannot one day drink like a normal man. Right. I can't do meth respectfully. I can't do coke respectfully. I can't do any drugs respectfully. I can't be a successful salesman or have a career or have my own place and have a family and have, hopefully one day, God willing, a son. Daughter would be alright, but I'd prefer a son.
Right.
I think Yeah, I prefer a son. But yeah, I can't have any of that if I continue down this destructive path of doing what Nick wants to do when I want it, and trying to control and be God in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like almost like a delusional. It's a delusion of thinking the world revolves around me, um, and it goes back to the actor scenario. It's like where I wish the world would just act as if I wanted them to act and talk how I wanted them to talk and behave how I wanted them to behave and let me do whatever. Um, but if that were the case, I'd probably be dead a long time ago. So it's like that's just a I don't know, a paradox or like just an impossible thing. Like
Right.
even if the world was mine, like I would be dead a long time ago.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's just God is everything, and I try to praise Him just all throughout the day, dude. It's like when I'm fearful, I go to God now. When I'm anxious, I go to God. When I'm just overthinking things or I'm bouncing off the walls, going from this to do task, to-do list task to this to-do list task, I'm just like,
Right.
yo, help me out, God.
Yeah.
Like, just help me. I need to focus on what's in front of me. So it's just, yeah, dude, it's a whole different thing. Cause and it's almost like, it's just like me beating myself up so many times. And that's where I'm grateful for my past too, is because it's pushed me to God more than ever. And I don't think I would have ever, and I think that goes for a lot of people I've talked to, is like they had to go through what they had to go through
Right.
in order to be fully submitting and give themselves over to God or whatever their higher power is, or Jesus, Allah, whatever,
Right.
in and out of the rooms, even people who aren't addicts and alcoholics. I think people have to go through some painful times. And this kind of goes to why it's like the age old question of why does God allow suffering? Well, it's like, okay, so with this, and I've talked to people about this too, and it's like if there was no suffering, we wouldn't need God. Plain and simple. We wouldn't need to rely on God. We wouldn't need to seek Him out during stressful and terrible times to give us the power to get through them. I mean, I personally, like, what would life be like if, I mean, that's heaven to me if there's no suffering. So it's not like, and I think that goes back to a little entitlement of, I just want to be in heaven. I want things to be perfect. I want things to be great.
Right.
I just want bliss and euphoria and unicorns and rainbows and just all good things, dude. And it's like, no, dude, that's just life. Life is unfair. Yeah, life is unfair, man. But today I'm okay with that. I have what I have everything I need right now. And that's not really much, but it's everything.
Right.
It's like, yeah, dude, God's a trip, man. Because like, so let me backtrack to so when I was recently at the rehab, right? So the staff would tell me, "Oh, Nick, what are your plans? Like, where are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, there's this sober living I'm gonna go to, and then I have to apply to get into there and stuff." And then the chick Austin was like, "Well, what if that falls through?" I'm like, "It won't. I have faith." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I have faith in God. Like, I'm putting in all the correct actions and just putting one foot in front of the next and just doing the right thing. And I'm doing my part with making the calls, reaching out to people, and then I just leave it up to God. I'm like, I just have faith."
Right. Yeah.
And then so anyways,
It's such a comforting thing.
and then it worked, and then it works out. So I get into I get approved to go to the sober living, and then the date isn't till like the original move-in date isn't till like 2 weeks after my discharge or something like that, a week or two. I think it was a week actually. So I would have had 6 days of from discharge date of rehab to moving to the sober living. Like 6 days, I'd have to figure out where to go. And um, she's like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I have faith.
Yeah.
I trust God. Like He's got me." And it's almost like a fine line between um, delusional wishful thinking or delusional optimism. Like you're just like, and then faith, right?
Right.
And so it's like it kind of tripped me out because as I'm saying this to her,
so true, yeah.
as I'm saying this to her, I'm because this my old selves would not say any of this. So it's like as I'm saying this and like truly feeling trust that everything's gonna work out, I'm also like that little voice is like what's going on?
Yeah.
Will it? Like
Yeah.
like this it just feels weird. But I just kept leaning into it, man. I just kept leaning into God. And so anyways, come to find out, oh yeah, no, so it was 2 weeks out. So I was actually going to discharge at 30 days. And then they sent in a request to extend me 2 more weeks. So then it matched it, minus there's still that 6 day buffer. So anyways, I got approved for 2 weeks. So now I've been at the rehab 45 days, would be my total stay. So anyways, yeah, so backtrack on that. And then there's still the 6 days buffer time left of trying to find a place to go, and then I can move into the sober living. So just like crash on a couch somewhere. But anyways, so the extension went through. That all lined up and worked out. And then come to find out, yeah, I get a call from the place and say there's a bed that's opened up sooner. Yeah, so I actually left my rehab a day early, or they discharged me a day early to move in. So it's just like I kept saying I got faith,
Right.
and just kept leaning to God, and it worked out. And like even if the sober living that I was going to didn't work out, I still have faith that something's gonna work out.
Exactly.
You know, it's just no matter what. And it's just such a trippy feeling, dude. It's so relieving and so
It's comforting, you know.
yeah,
it's that's what I meant. Where it's like
because that comfort is like I've been looking for that my whole life.
Yeah, it's like
my whole life.
Even though you have faith on a certain objective or something to happen, like that you think is for the better, right? Like it's comforting to know that even if that doesn't happen, I'll be fine because God's got me. You know, and it's that level of trust that tells me that I'm in good standing with God, that I'm in a good relationship with God. Is that whether or not I'm able to trust Him that much or not. You know, that dictates whether I have a good relationship with God or not. You know, and it's funny because that's what I've noticed too. Is that when I seem to not be trying to have the best relationship I possibly could with God, I don't usually trust Him in a lot of aspects of my life. You know, but like the more I am in tune with God, like I'll trust Him in every aspect, and it's that comforting feeling where it's like, dude, I don't care what happens out here. I know that God's got me, and I'll be fine. All right, you know.
And what's wild is like what God has in store for me may not be what I think I need, but it is what I need.
Right.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like what I want too. Like, dude, what Nick wants, it hasn't really worked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like when I think I know what's best for me, it's not. Pretty much 99% of the time.
Right.
You know, like just quickly reflecting on the last, let's just say 10 years from when started smoking weed at 15. So like last 13 years of like getting high, I'd say. Cause like back when like growing up as a kid, I can't really say much on that because I was just a kid.
Right.
But yeah, so it's just nothing I've thought I needed for myself has worked out. And it's like wild because leaning to God and just being okay, I'm just gonna go with whatever you put in front of me or take away from me or wherever you lead and guide me, I'm just gonna go with it. It's crazy because like once you get over, or once I've gotten over that fear of just like it's just weird doing that. Yeah, it's that comfort. Like it feels so peaceful, but at the same time, it goes against everything I've done my whole life. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's not the easier, softer way, which again doesn't really make sense because the easier, softer way for me as an alcoholic, it ultimately is the hardest way.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude. It's baffling, dude. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's just self-destructive by nature, and that's the thing about alcoholism, dude. Is as you know, it's cunning, baffling, powerful. It creeps up on you. I always hate when people say this, but it's the only disease that tells you don't have a disease.
Yeah.
Dude, every time I hear that, I'm like, I hate hearing that. But it's
so true.
but it's yeah, it's true. But it's just like it's such a mind game.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's insane.
And for me, like going in, thousands of meetings of AA, CA, whatever, all the A's, over the last 10 years, because my first experience in AA was at 18 years old. I was just a stoner at that time. I was addicted to marijuana, which a lot of people, oh, you can't get it. Yeah, if you're an addict, anything can use, especially weed messes me up more than anything. I'd rather do pretty much any other drug than marijuana.
Oh yeah.
Just in my opinion. But anyways, so just all those meetings I've been to and just sitting down and dude, the answers have been there the whole time. You hear shares, you hear speaker shares, you hear it in the preamble and the how it works and the answer is we'll just go through the steps, be honest, be willing, be open, and dude, just put in the work and trust God.
Right.
It's a simple program.
It's simple, but it's so far from what we know.
It's very simple, dude, for very complicated people.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everybody, but every addict and alcoholic, so I'm going to, that I've met are very complicated people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean anything bad by that, but it's just like from what I've gotten and myself too, of course, overcomplicate every single thing. There could be like a one sentence thing where it says, I don't know, there's a box on the ground, and I would read that and was like, well, what does that mean? It's just a simple. It's just a box on the. It's just a box on the ground. Just says that's it. There's a box on the ground. There's no meaning. There's no. And I'd be going off into this spiral thing, trying
and it prevents you from growing.
Yeah.
Like you getting stuck in your head. That's why it's such a. I just realized that. Yeah, that's why like the recipe is to pray, help somebody else. It gets you out of your head because dude, my overthinking prevents me from growing because I'm stuck here trying to find this best way to do this certain thing and I've just wasted 30 minutes just thinking about it when I could have just done it in like 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah, it's a trip, dude. You just brought back. What was it? I read something. So about prayer, right?
Okay, yeah.
I was reading something about prayer, and I don't know if it was an A reading or like a morning reading. I think it was a daily meditation or something like that. And it said something within the lines of why we do prayer constantly throughout the day and ask God of how we can be of use and be of help to other people constantly it's almost it's cognitive behavioral EBT or DBT, whatever. It's retraining our mind to think of others. Like that's it. Like by me praying, and there's so many different ways to look at prayer. It could be I'm praying to this God and he's giving me the power. And then there's atheists and agnostics who obviously they're praying, but in a sense where they're just doing self-talk. It's however you want to look at it. Where you're asking for positivity, you're asking for the power to help people, and you're building that up in your mind, subconsciously, whatever. You're creating those like neural pathways to be able to over time think positive, to help people, to do this. So it's like however you look at it. But I mean, for me personally, I'm talking straight to the creator. But I'm also, as a byproduct, like mentally conditioning myself to think a different way too. So it can go it goes pretty deep.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
So it's like, it's like when I'm praying, when I'm resentful at somebody, the big book, and you hear people say, pray for them. Pray for their happiness. Pray for for them to get the things that you want. And it just it in a sense it just takes away the anger, the hatred, the resentment at a person, and it turns it into like wishful thinking and love for that person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just replacing all the negativity and all the nasty shit that is in my head. So when I pray, dude, it's not instant.
Right.
Like when I think of it too, over the years of praying, and even if it was empty at the time, when I was telling you, like I was kind of just going through the motion. Like I would pray and just to check off a to-do list. Like, all right, check that off. I did my morning prayer. And sometimes I would quickly say the prayer just to get it done.
Yeah.
God, grant me the strength to accept it.
Yeah.
And it's just, all right, I'm done. There was no meaning. There was no heart. There was no belief in it. But even so, by me doing that over and over, and I can't say when it clicked, like this year or last year, I don't know, like when I fully leaned into God and the belief, and like my beliefs now are pretty solid. It's a good foundation. It's like I even question myself sometimes. I'm like, dude, like the Jesus, like Jesus thing was like, I'm praying to Jesus. I love this dude. I even talk to him like throughout the day, and my mind wants to like belittle myself and be like, is it like I'm just like a little kid like talking? It's just like an imaginary friend. Like I'm going crazy.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other people who've thought about that, man. Where it's like I'm just talking out loud to this dude, and like when I think about it, I'm like, that's kind of nutty.
Yeah.
Like that's nutty, bro. Like what? This guy's got some mental issues, but it's no, man. It's and when I get those thoughts, that's like the evil, like wants to completely disregard my beliefs and get me away from. It wants to pull me away from my belief in any way possible.
And it's so strong, man, too, as well, because even though you've had experiences with that belief, within that belief, that enemy, it's just so strong. You actually start questioning yourself and those experiences that you've had. It's that strong.
And that's like, but then when like the devil, whatever you want to call it, I call it just the devil.
Right.
When the dark forces like try to convince me, like, oh, it's silly to believe in God. It's silly to talk to the imaginary friend or talk to Christ. Like, it's just silly. And it's like, when I get those thoughts and I feel as if like, they're not, like, where are they coming from?
Right.
Because it's not me like cognitively like thinking them and like forcing these thoughts. It's just out of the blue.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for those though too, because it makes it helps me realize that I am going in the right path. Because the enemy, dude,
it'll only come for the strong soldiers.
Absolutely, man. And it's when then here's another thing is like, and I've realized this over the years and from what I've heard from people too, is like the closer you get to God, the harder and louder like that the dark voices, the devil trying to pull you away from him. Like the closer you get.
Yeah, I'm gonna share one of my experiences that I had. I think it was about 2 years ago, and It was just a regular morning, you know, and I woke up, I did my morning prayer, did my reading, did my morning meditation, right? I went to church. It was a Sunday. I went to church that morning, and right after church, I met with someone to do like a Bible study, and so I was doing all the right actions, or so I think the right actions to get closer to God. And right after I was done with that Bible study, all of a sudden, like a thought just crosses my mind. I'm like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah.
Like, why am I trying to get close to God? Is God real? Like, is this all just, you know, and all these thoughts, and it just goes to show you how strong it is, right? Like how strong the enemy is, right? Like the devil is I'm doing all the corrective actions to get closer to God, and then all of a sudden, like I'm just getting all these negative thoughts on the same day as soon as I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's just like doubt.
yeah, and it's like, dude, this is insane, right? And yeah, it was a crazy experience, you know. So you talked earlier. You had talked a little bit about the pain, you know, before the growth.
Yeah.
And so, how did that look like for you, right? Like, what was so painful, or one of your painful experiences? That, you know, brought you closer to God, or brought you to the rooms, or, you know, brought you to get help. Well, what kind of pain did you go through? Like, what kind of emotional pain? What kind of, you know, spiritual pain did you go through, and before you were like, okay, I need to start growing. I need to start getting closer to God. I need to, you know, get better at the 12 steps, whatever it might have looked like.
I think it's the pain of it's pretty. It's like you asked me earlier, like what is it like coming back, or like you know, so many times and stuff. It's because going to rehab 20 times I'm 28 years old, so 20 plus times in 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot, man. But it ramped up. It ramped up a lot. It was like 3 to 4 more a year in the last couple of years, a few years, to where it's just the cycle is getting worse and worse and worse. Man, the pain. I'm trying to answer completely open, because there's just it's almost there's so much, dude, and it's hard to pinpoint. I'd say the pain is like the biggest pain is like every time I come back to rehab, it's harder, bro, because it's like I've lost myself more and more. Just being honest, dude. It's like there's sometimes like I don't recognize myself in a way, where I feel like I've slowly like withered away, like, and I don't even know what I'm even really comparing to, like, you know, but like it's almost as if like parts of me have just like every time I go out and come back, like have just crumbled and broken off of me, you know, whatever that means, to where it's just like unrecognizable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with also, you know, when you do hardcore stimulants, I've gone through like a lot of psychosis and a lot of traumatizing. Like I mean, I'd say it's PTSD in a sense, dude. It's self-inflicted PTSD through psychosis. Because like when I'd go out, dude, like not even a week of doing methamphetamine, drinking, Xanax. Look, dude, like day one, you know, hearing things, and then it's gotten to the point of like full psychotic breaks of like the worst one was, I would say, last year. I went on a 3-week bender. Just did copious amounts of everything, the most I've ever done in such a short time, and abusing a lot of Xanax. So it was like those 3 weeks, the psychosis wasn't there because of the Xanax would keep it down. And then when I went to detox, and then went to rehab right after, it's post-meth psychosis plus the alcohol withdrawal. I hear voices from that when I just withdraw from alcohol alone. That started back when I was 21 when I first went through my first scary and confusing alcohol DTs, the shakes and stuff. And then it quickly developed into, I'd start hearing voices when I'd stop drinking and just wild stuff. Right. So it was just a combination. And it was about 10 days of the scariest, most traumatizing. I can't even explain it. I've explained it to a few people, and it's like every time I talk about it, I'm like I've distanced myself mentally from it now, to where like it doesn't really bother me, but it's just a mind trip.
Yeah.
But it was 10 days of just amplifying. Like I was at so I left detox, and before I left the detox, they had me there for 4 days, and I was like, they're like, oh, we're gonna discharge you, and you're gonna go back to go to rehab and stuff, and I was like, why am I getting discharged after 4 days? I was coming off of alcohol, a lot of Xanax and meth, and I started hearing voices, and it was getting worse. And I told them, I was like, don't discharge me. Like, oh no, you're medically clear. No, I was not.
Yeah.
So by the time I get to this rehab last year in December, I was there from detox 4 days to about 3 days at that rehab, and the psychosis just kept amplifying. And it was like, dude, I was in hell. Right. It was almost, and I fully believe with psychosis it opens up doorways to demonic presences. Like it makes my mind vulnerable from these demonic forces to be manipulated, to be what's the word? Like tormented and messed with. Because there's no fun psychosis.
Yeah.
And when you really think about it, I've never heard of a positive, uplifting, happy, self-affirmations and just a good time in psychosis. It's all, in my opinion, demonic, bro. And I lived through one of the worst times where I witnessed, I saw and heard my family pleading for me to give up, and I heard them get murdered, like gunshots, and I thought my whole family was dead, and then it would replay the last moments before I heard the gunshots. It would replay, and them talking to me and begging me to stop. Just fucking you piece, all this stuff, and it all, when I look back at it, I was messed up over that for a while, dude, because I just in this psychosis, bro. And I went to backtrack, I went from detox to the rehab. The rehab didn't know what to do with me because I was hearing people get killed outside of the rehab trying to save me, just insane things. So they sent me to R&I, an emergency detox. Okay, so then I get to that place. And this is for people straight off the street, and instead of they're too high or too crazy to go to jail, the cops drop them here. It's an emergency, or people get partitioned, family will partition people and they can't leave. So I get dropped off here and stuff, and dude, they didn't know what to do with me. So they called the ambulance. And I went to a hospital, and it just kept getting worse. And at this point, dude, it was like end of the world, and I was the Antichrist, a bunch of crazy things, dude. And I was living through that, and I was getting killed over and over and experiencing death and stuff, and I couldn't get out of it. So then that hospital drops me back off at the emergency detox. Well, the detox is what the he's worse than before. Why would you drop him back off? So they sent me back to a different hospital, and by the time I got there, I fell asleep or something for I think 4 days, and I came to 4 days later completely out of it. I was completely, the psychosis was gone, everything was turned off, the voices, everything I was hearing and thinking or seeing was just gone. Just like that. So that's a common theme throughout my relapses, maybe not to that extreme of yeah, dude, drugs are not good. Drugs are not good, dude. So there's a lot of crying over that and kind of replaying that throughout the months after that.
Right. Yeah.
I had to process a lot of things.
No, yeah, that's tough, man. That's
Yeah.
a tough thing to go to, man. And just to imagine that, even after experiencing that, it is still not sufficient
No.
enough to keep you sober. You know, and
Yeah.
like that's where the insanity part of it, right?
Mhm.
Like that's part of the insanity, right? Like it's very complex disease, but like just to think that, damn, that's not even enough to keep me sober, man. And like all
Yeah.
the shit that comes along with that as well, dude. It's tough. It's a tough thing, dude. And
Yeah.
you know, you hear all these types of stories all the time too. You know, and
And what's wild is like, I was talking to a friend because one of the guys I know at the rehab I just left, and we're talking about like, because what I just said seems normal to me.
yeah, exactly.
But and we were talking
it's
about
like we hear it all the time.
yeah, it's like it's like oh, well, I witnessed my family get murdered in
Yeah,
psychosis and
yeah.
heard all of it and their cries for help and
Yeah.
and it was all
like,
and it was
I've
all
actually witnessed my family get murdered. You know.
yeah, and it was all because of me. Like
Yeah.
and it's like oh that's now it's like I can just talk about it like
Right.
whatever, but it was real to me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And but my friend I was talking to at the rehab, I think it was like last morning or something. He was like, "Dude, some of the shit we say and these stories that we say are nuts."
Right, right.
And like if we were to say this to some normal person walking down on the street, they would be like jaw dropped, like, "Dude, get away, bro." But like to us, it's just like we've done, seen, and heard like insane stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like a tip of the iceberg. I mean, I could go into stories and stuff of some pretty horrific things and poor actions on my part, and I'm not going to though, but because we've all been there,
Right, exactly.
we know what comes with alcohol and drugs and stuff, and
Yeah, man. No, thank you for sharing that, dude. Thanks for being vulnerable. Yeah, but I love hearing about those kinds of stories as well, man. You know, it just goes to, it shows hope in everything. You know, when someone is brave enough to talk about the pain that they've been through and they're sitting here sober and telling you're telling us that there is a way. You know,
and yeah, that's something too. Like just thinking back of what I've been through because of me.
Right.
That's another thing too. I can't blame childhood. I can't blame ex-girlfriends. I can't blame anybody. It's all me, and that's where I'm at in my recovery too. And I've been there. I mean, I haven't blamed anybody for a long time. Like, oh, this is why I drink. This is why I do drugs. It's because it's for me. It's like, it's my choice. It's my decisions that lead me to drink and use. And most of the pain I've been through in my life have been self-inflicted.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's some things back in childhood and stuff, and but nothing to the degree like of a lot of other people. So yeah, it's just it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
So, last question before we end is, what's the most recent inspiration that you've gotten?
Recent inspiration.
Yeah, whether it's something that you've heard recently, a prayer, maybe something that you've read.
Recent inspiration.
Yeah. Like I'll share one of mine.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, for example, like I was sitting down. I'm going through my ACA steps right now, so I'm going through another 12-step program. There was just a lot of similarities that I saw when I went to the meeting. I was like, hey, I'm gonna try this out, And so I've been sitting down with the sponsor the past couple of weeks, and he read something to me. Actually, I think oh, well, it was the one I sent you.
Oh, was it?
I think, yeah, and so it says, today I pray for the willingness to remember that I am a child of God, a divine soul in human form, that my most basic and urgent life task is to accept, know, love, and allow myself to be nurtured by that love. As I accept who I am accepting God's will, right? And so like every time I have fucking this self-doubt or I'm criticizing myself so bad that I get into this mind-boggling fear of like me not achieving certain things that I want, or like just beating myself down to the ground.
Yeah.
Every time I'm doing that, I'm going against God's will, because God created me as I am.
Yeah.
You know? So like it just put things into perspective, because we're our worst critics, you know? And so I was like, damn, dude, like, you know, sometimes when I do things out of self-hatred, because I want to be better, because I don't like myself sometimes, right? Like sometimes, well, I started going to the gym because I didn't like the way that I looked,
Yeah.
right? And so there's all these little aspects that I do things because I don't like myself, and so every time I take a look at that, I'm like, damn, I'm not accepting of myself sometimes, right? And so sometimes it's not God's will, right? Like when I self-criticize myself to that degree, at least, you know.
Yeah.
And so when I do accept myself, that is God's will, right? When I do accept myself, when I love myself, when I'm not so harsh on myself, like that's God's will, because God created me
In His image.
as I am,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's I'm sure it feels peaceful too.
Yeah.
And you finally, cause
when I am in that state.
yeah, when you're in that acceptance, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing too. Is you know, I have to be careful with this time around getting sober, because people have pointed out. I'll say this, and then I'll say something that I've really internalized as far as like inspiration, right?
Yeah.
But this time I have to tread lightly, with knowing, like I may be feeling, you know, like I'm on a cloud, and things are going so perfectly, and so
Right.
you know, I feel content, I feel at peace, like I'm motivated to do the work. But I have been like that in the past, not to this extreme, but I have been like the gift of desperation where I'm willing to do anything, and then that quickly fades away, and then I feel good, so then I stop doing what I needed to do, and then things hit the fan, and then I go back to drinking and drugs, and that leads me back to square one, if not lower. So it's just more so like I have to understand that life is not gonna always be perfect, and I have to be okay in the bad and the good times. Like the downtime, like, you know, if I'm sitting there and thinking about, you know, I'm stuck in self-consciousness, I'm stuck in, you know, fear of what people are thinking of me, like all that stuff crops up still.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I have to be willing to just sit through it, and sit through the emotions, even if they're terrible, like the depressed, you know, thoughts and stuff. And I just have to be willing to just stick it out this time, you know, because as they say, you know, a storm shall pass. It always does. Well, I mean, am I willing to wait through that storm? It could be one day. It could be a week. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. It could be years. You know, it's like, how willing am I to be able to sit through pain? For, let's say it's, you know, I go through a bad time, not to throw it out there in the universe, but what if it's like a bad year? You know, am I willing to not be so selfish and self-centered, to throw everything away, to hurt people, and to most likely overdose and die, because I wasn't willing to sit through that, you know, and get through the other side. So I have to remember that, you know.
Because it's easy, bro. Like, it's easy to trust God, rely on God when things are going through. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But when shit's not going our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then to go back to, so I think the biggest thing of inspiration that's been heavy on my heart is, so if God can give me a guy like myself who has done a couple things, you know, not the best, who has lived in sin, who has went against God, went against people and life itself, and it just all the crazy stuff I've done, man. If and the ugly things, like if God can give me grace, and if God, and I know God loves me, but if God can give me love and grace and mercy and the time of day to even give me enough power to turn away from how I've been and that old self and accept me for who I am, we're talking about God. The most powerful thing ever known and not known. It just is. It's just God. And if that power can accept love, give me mercy, and have grace for me, why can't I, something that's so finite and so simple compared to God, why can't I have that same grace, mercy, love, and acceptance for myself? You know, so it kind of puts it in perspective. If God can have that for me, I can have that for myself.
Exactly, yeah.
And it gives my heart that warmth that it needs, because ever since as a kid, dude, like you were mentioning, like self-critical and judging of self and I'm not good enough and oh, I'm ugly, I look weird, my hair's line's receding, you know, all this stuff of what I'm not, you know, it's been there all my life, you know. So it's like it kind of starts reverting that though. It's like I don't have to live in that anymore, you know. Do I still am I perfectly perfect at it? No. I mean, now I know and I can feel, okay, if God can do that, I can have that for myself.
You're aware of it.
Yeah, but it's like, it's also, I need to be realistic though, because like throughout the day, it's going to pop up, dude. Like if I see some hot girl and I'm like, oh God, what do I look weird, dude. The shirt feels weird. It looks weird probably, and all this stuff. And I'm not big enough. I need to go to the gym more, and which that's another thing I struggle with too. Like the gym, dude. Like I've never been comfortable in my body, to where I think I'm either not big enough or I'm too big or I'm fat. You know what I mean? So it's never on my own reliance. I'm never satisfied. Never. I could start doing steroids tomorrow and become I don't know, Olympian, whatever, and be in the most perfect physical shape of my life. And if I wasn't relying on God, that would not be enough.
Exactly.
And I have to remember that, dude. So it goes back to God is everything or He is nothing.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, it's everything. In the position that we're in as alcoholics and drug addicts, like everything is directly correlated to whether I have a relationship with God, I trust God or not. You know, everything is directly correlated in some form or another. Right, like my emotions, the way I think about myself, the way I speak, how clear my thoughts are, the way my thoughts are. Right? If they're positive or negative, like everything is directly correlated to whether I'm connected with God or not. You know, and that's what I've noticed is like it's such a trippy thing, and that's how I know God is real in my life, bro. Is when I'm not connected with God, I'm thinking some crazy ass shit, and I'm fucking beating myself up even harder than I usually do, and I'm thinking lustful things. I'm in fear, and it's just about me, like it, and everything is just directly correlated to whether I'm having a good relationship with God or I don't, you know. But yeah, bro, I appreciate you doing this with me, dude. Seriously, like that was a really good conversation, you know. And I'm glad you're.
See, I'm so self-critical. I'm thinking I'm here, but then I'm also the last. I don't know how long we've even been talking.
I don't know either.
You know, but I'm like, oh, did any of that make sense?
No, yeah.
You know, so it's like, that's the reality of it, man. Is I still like jump into that I jump into myself. You know, myself comes out and I get stuck in my head and stuff, and it's like, you know, we had a conversation.
Yeah.
It was what I said was what was said.
Exactly.
You know, and what you said, and it played out how it played out. So
exactly.
that's okay.
Yep. Exactly.
That's it. So.
No, thank you, man.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
man.
seriously, bro.
For sure.